All right, folks, gonna have your attention. We're gonna get started here. Thanks for everyone for coming tonight. We really appreciate it on Sunday evening. I want to recognize any elected officials that we have in attendance tonight. John Hennigan from Dunwoody City Council. We do have Mr. Patrick, Robert, you're right on cue.
Thank you.
Our DeKalb County Commissioner. Am I missing any other elected officials that are already in office right now? Larry, are you elected right now?
I'm retired.
Thank you. We're going to get to you in just a second. And, well, no better time than now. Recognize of candidates for office. Larry, if you'll, you got the floor for 3 or 4 minutes, so help yourself.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Dunwoody Homeowners Association. Good to see you. You remember back in the day, it's nostalgic because I was in the days we used to come up here with Bob Munson was in charge. And Representative Taylor was holding court down at the state capitol. But I'm coming now as your next CEO of DeKalb County. And it's been a very good run and just having fun connecting with folks. Yes, you are a city, but we have to stay connected together because we deal with traffic every day from 285 to 85 to 675. I tell them I-20, all of those things run through DeKalb County. And so I was here when the initial growth happened in Dunwoody and what you got to do and how we had to work together to make those things happen. So you will see this CEO continue to come out here and connect. Plus, I'm connected to a lot of your neighbors. I've been endorsed by Pam Talmadge, your former councilwoman, Jim Redovian, former school board member. They can vouch and connect with me. Even up here at Dunwoody Baptist Church, connecting with our people. And Tom Taylor will tell you, he's an international guru, but I told him I went to Japan in February to represent the United States and Japan and Canada. And my job was to do what he does here, the cultural exchange, to connect the dots, because we're going to do sister county relationships with Japan. I talked to Sierra Leone already, Senegal. I've been to South Africa, but we got to get our kids connected more to doing more study abroad programs. And I thank Representative Taylor for making it happen. So I'm not going to hold you long because you got the great commissioner back here, Robert Patrick, with one of the best CLOs in the nation, Zach Williams. We're going to talk about water because we know water is so important, right? And how it relates to us because it shows another connection point of DeKalb and the city of Dunwoody on what we're going to do together. So you're going to get a CEO that's about results. It's going to make things happen. And I want to come back up here soon. We did something at Valley Coffee Shop a couple of weeks ago and had a very good turnout. I mean, it was an intergenerational event where I brought all of the folks in Dunwoody together. And we talked about bread and butter issues from streets to potholes to working on our parks. Those are the type of things your next CEO, Larry Johnson, is going to do in your community. So I've been to 2 churches today. I had my own barbecue at 5 o'clock today. And I got to get back out and put some more signs up. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. The early voting starts on Monday till Friday, and June 18th is election day. I need your support. Let folks know LJ all the way, LJ all the way. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, Larry. And if you win the election, you're going to register and be part of our Dunwoody parade, correct?
Oh yeah, I was the one when it rained in last July.
Yeah, I remember.
I walked the whole parade.
Do we have any other candidates for office with us tonight? Did I miss any of our elected officials? All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over. Debbie, we didn't get the minutes out, did we?
No, that's
All right,
my
well,
device.
We'll worry about that next time. Want to give a 4th of July parade update. Now a month away. Our parade co-chair, Matt Weber, is here. Been working diligently. We actually had a meeting on Friday house to discuss it.
Where do I stand? Right here. All right. So I'm going to read a bunch of stuff. Tell me when it gets boring. So Penny can't be here today. She's the other co-chair and really does most of the work. So I want to give a shout out to her. There's it might be the biggest parade we've ever had. Actually, we've got like 130 entries. I think there's more sponsorships than ever, right?
Yeah, it's looking good.
There's Jim Ellis has given us a platinum sponsorship, which was awesome. Rough Draft Atlanta and the Homeowners Association are the presenting sponsors. And then we've got a couple of gold sponsors, Discover Dunwoody and then Dino Woody. You guys know Lisa Torres. She has really made an impact on the community, and she's going to do something really cool. If you guys are at the parade, keep an eye out for her. Yeah, and then so we've got 3 bands. Penny is all into getting these bands, and that's where we spend a lot of the money for the sponsorships. And so we got the Dunwoody High School Band, the Atlanta CV Drum and Bugle Corps, Spirit of Atlanta Drum and Bugle Corps, and there's a whole bunch of. I'm going to go through some of my favorites.
116th still?
There's
Yes.
100. Oh yeah, one. Oh yeah, that wasn't on here.
Okay, so there's 4 bands.
Yeah, it's 4 bands. You're right.
4 bands, including Dunwoody High School.
Yeah. Yeah, the 116th is probably our favorite because they perform at the end actually, in front of at the festival, and that's really cool. So Rush Union Soccer, they registered in February, which was amazing. Discover Dunwoody, their trolley. So our Grand Marshal this year is David Avis, and his Fun Woody Restaurants have their hayride. The Simply Done Donut Truck is, I really enjoy her, and she's never been part of the parade before, so that one's going to be cool. The Lawn Chair Drill Team, who some of my neighbors from the neighborhood, we're going to try to keep them moving quickly this year. Last year, it was a little different because everybody was rushing through. Yeah, you guys were there. Everybody was moving pretty quick. We try to slow everybody down a little bit. The DeKalb Sheriff's Office was a huge hit the last few years. The Twilight Twirlers are maybe my favorite. There's some older ladies that get out there and do like drill team stuff, which is really cool. The Atlanta Falcons, Freddie Falcon and the cheerleaders. Dunwoody High School cheerleaders. Like I said, the Dino Woody. She showed me what she has in store, and it's going to be like really, really cool. Everybody keep an eye out for that. And then our Dunwoody Idol winner is Lauren Schrader. She is going to perform at the end of the parade as well at the festival. The Wienermobile will be there. Art Coffee House. It seems like all of the new businesses in the area are actually participating this year, which is exactly what we want. And I'm not going to mention any of the politicians, but there's some like neighborhoods that are participating as well, which is really exciting because that's what I would like to see in the parade. Lots of bikes and children walking and that kind of thing.
Matt, I still think a sanitation escort needs to be a thing.
Yeah, that's the end of the parade always. But yeah, I guess that's really about it. We're looking for volunteers. Is that the camera right there?
Yep.
So if you want to volunteer, there's different ways you can volunteer. Our problem is that nobody my age wants to participate as a volunteer because they have their kids and they want to watch the parade. But if that is what, we'll take whatever. So if they want to sit on the side and just speed people up or slow them down and make sure the breaks don't happen in the parade, we'll give you a free t-shirt. And then you can help at the end of the parade, at the beginning of the parade. There's lots of different volunteer shifts. I guess that's about it. Thanks for the Homeowners Association for making this happen.
Thanks, man.
Matt, so you can call those marshals, with the t-shirts, marshals?
Well, our Grand Marshal is
No, but
David Davis, but they can be
No, to
marshals.
keep people, from like
Yeah, just
stopping
volunteers.
and keeping things moving, because
Yeah.
you have that 100-yard gap. And last year, it was just.
Last year was a little different.
Yeah.
Normally there's like, the tractors slow everybody down and then some people speed up. And so we just want less breaks because that's when people start evacuating and thinking the parade is over. If you don't hear a big band coming, then the parade could be over and they just walk away. And that's what we don't want. And then the festival's always fun too.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Commissioner Patrick, I'll turn it over to you, Robert.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good
Good to see you this evening. Am I in the line?
You want to be a little bit closer so we can get both you and
Yeah,
your
right here,
slides.
stand right there. That's good.
No, we're going to get you next to your presentation. There you go. All right, we got that.
So, as many of you heard, there was some activity in the city of Atlanta regarding the water system. And as our CEO has said, we've already sort of experienced that. When I was a Doraville council, unfortunately, the water main broke on Buford Highway, which shut down water service, I think just about a week, if I remember correctly, for anyone south of Buford Highway. There are hospitals, there are businesses, CDC, obviously the airport, people's houses, jobs were put on hold during that time frame. I sort of looked at what happened over at City of Atlanta as a bit of a reminder of the priority that we need to put on the water and sewer system. And to that end, I've asked two of our staff people, obviously Zach Williams, our Chief Operating Officer, as well as Maria Hauser, who I described as the water and sewer guru. She has a more technical title, but guru, I think, covers it all. And there's a lot to say. I'm not sure exactly how long the presentation is. We took about an hour at the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee meeting that I chair to get into some details. We won't go that long at all this evening. At this point, if I could ask Maria and Zach, if you wouldn't mind coming up and introducing yourselves to everybody. And just so you guys know, when y'all call me with a concern, these are part of the team that I rely on to get solutions and get things taken care of. Obviously, Zach being the Chief Operating Officer and Maria being our guru. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, I'll just start really quickly. And first of all, thank you for the invite. I mean, we're glad to be here. Again, my name is Zach Williams. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for DeKalb County, also a Dunwoody resident, and I see the great work that DHA does. And I want to commend you guys for the work that you're doing, in particular the farmers market. I'm a big fan of the farmers market, of course, because I eat a lot. But definitely a big fan. And Matt, I want to get information on the lawn chair drill team. That sounds like it's right up my speed, something that I'd be able to do.
Get you signed up.
Get me signed up. I appreciate it, Council. So, yes, Maria Hauser, who is our Director of the Consent Decree and Environmental Compliance, has been with the county doing outstanding work for about 7.5 years, roughly, 6.5 years. Even longer. But what Maria is going to share with everyone today is a focus area that hasn't gathered as much attention as sewer. Okay, we are under a consent decree that Maria will describe, which is essentially an agreement based on a lawsuit with the federal government that says we will fix our sewer system. But critically important, you can't have a sewer system unless you have what? A water system. And just like our sewer system with pipes that are, approaching 100 years old, Maria will be able to explain to you that the infrastructure is similar. Thank goodness, Maria and her team has done outstanding work for the past 6.5 years. And so, we have made a lot of progress thus far, but there's a long way to go. And DeKalb County is not unique in that respect. It's much like the infrastructure throughout the United States that has not been invested in. But Director Hauser, if you could just share with everyone where we are and where we're headed.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. And I know I have people behind me and online, so I'll be cognizant about that. As Zach mentioned, we're going to focus today on the water system. Commissioner Patrick mentioned the city of Atlanta has been having challenges over the past week and a half, and we don't want to be remiss in understanding what's happening here in DeKalb County. Now, in previous years, you may have heard a lot about the consent decree as it relates to wastewater, which is also another word for sewer. And it's essentially the water that we use. So whether you took a shower, did your dishes, did laundry, used the restroom, all of that water is taken to the plant, whether we actually send wastewater from this area of the county over to the city of Atlanta, to our in Clayton. The lower parts of the county, we do have 2 wastewater treatment plants. And we've seen, because of a disinvestment in just infrastructure, period, whether it's the sewer system, the water system, or roads, sidewalks, it's throughout the US. But specifically here in DeKalb, we ended up under an agreement before Judge Grimberg. Previous to him, the other judge that locked in the consent decree. It's an order which mandates certain things needed to be done with the sewer system. Tells us how internally, how the Department of Watershed Management should run, whether it's the amount of employees that are there, how they're trained, how the system is to be maintained. And then it looks a bit further and it says, okay, if you need capital improvement, this is what you need to do. So I direct that effort, but I also have another hat where I direct the capital improvement program for the water system as well. So we're going to focus in on that. We've been doing a lot of work on the water system. And if you go to the first slide here, you have handouts, and I'm not sure what they're seeing online, but this really describes, since CEO Thurman has been in office in 2017 and Commissioner Patrick, he sits on the PWI committee, which they pass a lot of the contracts that helps make this possible. So we've actually spent about $500 million, $520 million on the water system. And we've accomplished a lot of things. And as I go through the presentation, we're going to talk about the critical infrastructure as far as the water system is concerned. But just to highlight, we've done a lot of improvements at our Seoul water treatment plant. We've also developed and released our first master plan. And how is that critical? Anytime you have infrastructure, whether it's in the city of Dunwoody or any municipal organization, you want to be forward-looking. So what has happened on the water system, we looked at ARC data, which is the Atlanta Regional Commission, and they forecast, okay, how many people are going to move in here? What type of industry we're going to see in the foreseeable future? And we've actually looked out to 2050 as to what assets need to be rehabilitated under a capital program. And we've looked out to 2070 as to who's going to be sitting around in DeKalb County, here in Dunwoody, the other cities, because the water system, there's a sole water system for all 14 cities that touch DeKalb County. It's 14 cities, right, in DeKalb County? I think that's right. We're including because they're parts of the city of Atlanta. So there's one water system in DeKalb County and there's one sewer system in DeKalb County, and it runs through every jurisdiction in the county boundaries. So we've looked out that far to 2070 as to how we need to build for growth and as far as capital improvement. So we've actually started working on that, and that's what that master plan represents. We've also taken a look at upsizing 91 miles of our water system. So our water system is actually 3,000 miles. We could start here and we could go to San Francisco, and that's the length, pipe over pipe, edge over edge, that's the length of our water system. So we've already done rehabilitation and upsizing to 91 miles throughout our sewer system. At your homes, how do we check that? Do you all remember the billing issues? Oh yeah, okay, yeah, all right. How many had, $1,000 bills and okay. So that has been fixed. Really, there was a lawsuit that was settled because somehow or the other, we had a manufacturer that was giving us water meters that did not react well to water, believe it or not. So there was actually a settlement agreement, and that was really the CEO's New Day project, where a lot of the iPearl meters were changed out and out-of-cycle meters were changed out as well. And you could actually go to our website and you could put in your address and you could tell what type of meter you have, when it was last changed out. We make all of that available on our website. And we also increased the department by 50 individuals to rectify, every time you call or you need customer service and metering staff to go out and actually collect data. All of that has been taken care of. We now have a new billing system as well. The other thing that we've done, which is unique, we have about 87% of the meters in the area. You have it's on automatic advanced metering infrastructure, AMI. So we could actually tell if, you have a toilet running and something is going on, you can actually see it now 87% of users in DeKalb County have access to that right now. So that's kind of where we've been, what we've done. We've kind of laid the foundation, but now we have to go further. And let's get into why we have to go further. So, and I'm having, okay, DeKalb County is old. Y'all remember we just celebrated 200 years of DeKalb County? Well, water pipes first entered our system in 1909. They're still there, by the way. We still have pipes that were first from 1909. They're still in the system. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, that we have started with a foundation, but now we need to go further. So if we look at the first 100 years of the water system, what are we looking at? Pipes went into the ground just sporadically. And then you're going to see later on where Scott Candler, he was the sole commissioner for a while for DeKalb County. He actually initialized a program where the Department of Watershed Management, it wasn't called that, it was called like DeKalb Waterworks or Department back in those days. It was established in 42. Also established in 42 was the first water treatment plant for DeKalb County. Now going forward, out of the water treatment plant, you have what we want to consider kind of like your highways for your water system. Those are the big lines. You know, similar, the highways are multiple lanes. You have the big pipes coming out of the water plant that are going to our neighborhoods. They're not in our neighborhoods. You get the smaller pipes that are run from the big trunk lines. So we call these big things the transmission mains. So the first transmission main was put in 1941, right before the plant was built. So when the plant was finished, everything could be connected and you could start flowing. And that's still there, by the way. Did I tell you all that? That big transmission main, it hasn't been replaced, not yet. So it's sitting there from 1941. It's steel as well. Through the years, we have expanded the plant a little bit over the years, as well as adding additional transmission lanes. What's significant about that, the last new water main was put in 1974. Over 50 years ago. I'm gonna skip over, if we skip forward, I just wanna go forward. So this is right here. Our population back in the 40s, one more, was 87,000. We're a little bigger than that now, and we kept on growing. But that red dot represented the last time we put in a transmission main. So it's over 50 years ago. So and I'm sorry, if you could flip back to the timeline again. Now we did start, you know, after having the water treatment plant from 1942, we decided, DeKalb County, I shouldn't say we, this is previous administrations, decided it's time to replace the water treatment plant and to modernize it. Well, they started on phase one, and they got done with phase one in 2007, and no one continued on to phase two. Do you know what that means? We have a lot of plots that are still from 1942. Not everything at the plant has been modernized. So we have a plant where a portion of it has been modernized, a portion of it has not. So we're gonna have to deal with that as well going forward. The good news is where we get our water is from the Chattahoochee River. That's not DeKalb County, but that's where we pull our water. We put it into reservoirs. In fact, one of our reservoirs is in Gwinnett County. And we take that water, and that's our sole supply to produce drinking water for DeKalb County. So if we go ahead on to the Scott Candler, so he was called almost foolish for trying to develop that. But that's really the backbone of any civilization. It's what we need for growth. Civilization, it's what we need for growth. Y'all can imagine what happened over at the city, the impact it had not having water. And you can imagine not having water for a day or a couple of days. But that's a picture of Scott Candler water treatment plant. And if we go forward again, let's talk about the system. So I've given you a brief overview of what we've done thus far. how we've laid the foundation. We have a master plan. We know what the plan needs to be going forward to build a system. We understand that there are crucial aspects of the system. So let's just talk about it. You start off with the Chattahoochee River. It goes to on-site reservoirs. You treat the water, you clean it up, you make it potable at a water treatment plant. It goes through the big transmission mains to the communities, and the pipes get smaller. They get to, they go from being like 30-inch, 42, 48, 54. It's the biggest size pipes we have right now, all the way down to your 12-inch pipes, your 10-inch, your 8-inch, your 6-inch pipes. And that kind of connects to your homes or businesses. And you utilize water, and then it turns into sewer. And that's another story. So the good news is I do have backup here, because Jim paid on he worked for us at one time, and he's still working for us at Freeze Nichols on all of these problems. So that's kind of schematic. So we're going to quickly go through each component that we need to improve going forward. So the next slide, please. All right, the raw water intake. The good news is you all saw that within the first 100 years, we did a complete replacement and modernization of it. It does not need a lot of work there. Just a couple $1 million of improvements on there. I know. Okay, let me exchange that. Comparatively speaking, it does not require a lot of work, comparatively speaking. Next, at the water facility, again at Scott Candler Water Treatment Plant, the next slide, we do need work done there. We need to modernize everything that's currently in 1942. And even some things that were done in the modernization of phase 1, we need to redo it. And the next picture is going to tell you why. Do you see that electrical building? That's all the electrical controls that are at the Scott Candler Water Treatment Plant. Do y'all see those poles there? They're not for decoration. They're literally holding up the building. On the sides, yeah, and that's right now. Today, if you go to Scott Candler Water Treatment Plant, it's a crucial facility, and it was modernized, but it was not built correctly. And we're trying to deal with that now. You don't want an entire electrical building that has all of your electrical circuitry being held up by poles. So another example of some additional work we need to do at the water treatment plant is, see the fire there at the starter cabinets, and the transfer pumps, they were not replaced in 2007. So what are transfer pumps? They take water from where we've already cleaned up the water, it's potable, it's ready to drink, it's ready to go into the big transmission mains. Well, it needs pumps to actually put them in there and then pressurize the system to get it to you. Those pumps from the late 80s. So we kind of need them to be improved already, that entire system. So it's crucial in that DeKalb County only has one water treatment plant. It's unique from all other counties in the metro area and the city of Atlanta in that we have one source of water. So we're really trying to focus in and really take care of that one source. So we continue on in other challenges. Let's look at the distribution system and let's see what challenges we're experiencing there, which is similar to what you saw with the city of Atlanta. Okay, do you remember the last time, when is the last time we built the big transmission mains? How many years ago? 50, that's right. So the population kept growing. So that means the pipes are now undersized, right? Because no other administration installed a pipe. A lot of times, anything that's underground, you kind of forget about it. And you continue turning taps on, the water's there, okay, we don't have to worry about it. Yes, we do. So it's really undersized. Now, why is it under high pressure? Because if you have something that's a static size and you're trying to get more water through it, you have to apply more pressure to get the volume through it. And we're experiencing really high pressure throughout the system, the pipes, not in your homes, because everyone is supposed to have a pressure reducing valve. So the pressure in your homes, it's exactly what the pressure reducing valve scheduled. But our pipes, as we're carrying the water along, because they're undersized and we're trying to push as much as we can in there to service the community, we're seeing pressures of 200 pounds per square inch when we really should be having between 60, 40, 60, 80 pounds per square inch in there. So what does that kind of cause when you put things under pressure? Yeah. So you start having breaks, right? So the undersized stuff causes things to be under more pressure, and that causes breaks. I mean, aside from the fact that stuff is in there from the 1909s and they're aged and the 30s and et cetera. So the other thing that we see in our pipes, back in the days, they used to use cast iron. And there's a chemical reaction which causes it to be clogged up. It's just chemistry. And you have that residue. And even in, how sometimes you see calcification going on in the water system and you have that scaling in there, that also happens in the pipes. So you see catastrophic breaks. Now, if we want to go to the next slide and see specifically, Commissioner Patrick mentioned he was baptized by Buford Highway, and that's there. But what a lot of you may not have realized, it's twice this year we've experienced breaks on McClendon. We actually took out someone's. I mean, I know this is, the homeowners association and everyone wants a water feature. And I would like for us to look at it from a different perspective, that we have created another water feature at Buford Highway. That's one way to look at it for a short period of time. And earlier this year, we did create some other additional water features at McClendon. But that's a 42-inch diameter transmission main. It carries about 35% of the water flow to the community. So it's another area that we have to deal with going forward. And Seal Your Way, that was January of 2023. So our big transmission main pipes, they're failing, particularly the pre-stressed concrete, because they're not that old, believe it or not. They're from the 70s. They are the last pipes to go in, the big transmission mains, and they're failing before the ones that were put in the 40s and 50s. Because somehow or the other in the US, during the years 1970, 71, and 72, something happened with the manufacturers of pre-stressed concrete pipes, and the pipes that were built in those eras are just breaking, not just here in DeKalb, but everywhere it was installed from that era. So we're having to deal with those pipes first before we could address the pipes that were built back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, because they are steel there. The next slide kind of shows you the pipes that are in your community. So this is where you come out of your homes and where your homes are actually connected to the main lines in your communities. This graphic, it looks a bit complicated, but let me break it down to you. The different colors are the different types of pipes we have in our communities. At the bottom, it's the years they were installed. So you can see the 1910, 15, 20, there are still those red, and the red stands for cast iron. The green that you see there after World War II, throughout the US, Canada, and parts of Europe, someone thought it was a great idea to put in asbestos cement pipes. We have, in DeKalb County, we have less than 0.1% of asbestos cement pipe in the whole US. So we just have a small amount, but we are having challenges with that pipe, because that is the pipe that breaks the most in DeKalb County. It is only about 19% of our system, but it represents 40% of the breaks are caused by that.
What color is asbestos?
It's just regular cement. Oh, the green, it was put in from the 1945 to the 1975 era. And that's about the same as it was anywhere in the US. That's kind of the era. And even Canada and parts of Europe, that's when it was installed. The ductile iron is the pipe of choice. When we do replacements, it's very versatile, it's good install, and it's kind of like the industry standard going forward. The interesting thing about ductile iron, since the pandemic, ductile iron prices have gone up by like 80%.
What is that word again?
Ductile iron. And it's not just iron, it's, it's coated with different chemicals. So it's not just water touching a metal, so there's a coating on it. So it's ductile iron plus something, depending on the usage of it. But it's our go-to pipe now. It's the industry standard, and it performs the best, and it's really what you're going to use, except for when you get to the big transmission mains. Then you have to look at what, the pH of the soil that you're putting it in, whether you want to do steel, whether, pure cast concrete is still a good option. But for everything else, the smaller type pipes within your communities, our preference is ductile iron. Now, PVC, you're going to see a smattering of red where it was installed. The problem with PVC, you drive over it and you have vibrations and it's not cushioned enough. And guess what PVC does? It breaks as well. So it's not really the pipe of choice. I know we utilize it in our homes a lot, but when, it's under pressure out, it's not as good. So that's really, I think that's it. I would take any questions over what we're looking at, the challenges. Commissioner Patrick, in the PWI committee, they look at infrastructure. It's Public Works and Infrastructure Committee. So we actually engage there where we tie the long-term planning of the master plan, which looks at growth and it looks at the need for capital improvement. And we prioritize each project by various engineering companies. We prioritize what should go first. And of course, the first thing we're looking at, and this is really a mandate from CEO Thurman, you got to take care of the water plant first. Because that water plant goes, it doesn't matter what we're doing with the transmission mains or whatever, we're not going to have water in the county. So that's kind of the first priority. But we do have plans in place to address, all different aspects. And, that's kind of what my team does. And we bring it before Commissioner Patrick, and he's heading up that committee to kind of engage and ask questions. But we wanted to share that information with you as to what's going on right now as we continue to work on the water system. So
Thank you very much, Maria. Appreciate that. So at this point, y'all were hit with a truckload of very technical information. A little brag on Maria. You are PE.
Well, I'm an engineer from tech, so I'm a tech squared. I'm undergrad and grad, and then I did my MBA. Because, you always need an MBA. You got to know how to, count the pennies in your pocket. And to exist in the U.S., you need a law degree. So it's kind of, So I did environmental law. I used to work at Troutman Sanders, which DeKalb was my client, and I got called in to kind of use my engineering hat and figure out how to pay for this with the help of Zach. And I deal with the EPA and EPD on the legal side of things with our legal team.
Are you an attorney also?
Yes,
Yep.
I do.
Engineer and attorney?
Yep.
She is powerful. And she works for us.
Yeah.
That said, there's a lot of information that's been given out. If you have any questions while we're here, we're happy to answer them. I don't want to take up the board's time.
I know, I don't know.
Please.
So in your current approved budget, do you have money that can start on the water treatment plant?
So we have been working on the water treatment plant already. So the PWI committee approved when we had CIP, the capital improvement program for 2021. That included work on the water treatment plant. Unfortunately, it takes a long while to put in, to replace the biggest significant piece. It's called the clear wells. It's the last stage of treating the water. And that has not been replaced. And we actually started the geotechnical because we had to investigate the reservoirs, and we're digging down in the ground to set up the new clear wells. So we've already spent 2 years into the process. The clear wells aren't going to be done until probably 2029. It takes that long to actually build these structures and put it into the ground.
You have the money to do it.
We're actually looking at that. We have money from rates right now. We have money from the federal program, the ARP funding. We have applied for infrastructure grant funding. And we are, as the CEO mentioned last Tuesday, we are also going for a rate increase to help. But we tend to look for money everywhere we can. And if anyone knows of any grants, we go after grants as well. So we have 2 grants that we're hoping, or grant type opportunities. We're hoping for $40 million from there. Do y'all remember the SPOS that won the referendum? So we're going to be getting a couple $1 million from SPOS as well. We went after low interest federal loans from the federal government. So we have about $265 million for the wastewater side, and almost a little bit more on the water side as well. That was granted. We go after GFA loans as well. We actually used up all of GFA last year. So we hunt everywhere for funds.
Well, with that said, just breaking it down to the common man, Robert or Maria, or maybe Zach can answer this question. What would we be looking for in the way of rate increases to our water bills?
So when I've asked that question, the response was that we're still working on it.
We are.
And I think the county is looking at a variety of other ways to sort of get to the resources of the revenues that are necessary. So rate increase is one thing. There's a couple other ideas that are out there that they're looking into. I think there's a legal component.
There is. So the legal team is talking with bond counsel and all of that, putting a lot of heads together. Zach has a couple ideas as well for different options. So it will not just be the rate increase option. It'll be a lot of things that we're working on to fund it.
And just to, when you presented this to us at PWI, you said that this ultimately is a 25-year plan.
Mhm.
It would be ideal if the bulk of the water component could be done within a decade because it becomes cheaper, although it's a larger cost on the front end. It's cheaper for ratepayers and everyone in the long run.
It's the faster. So as I mentioned before the pandemic, 80% increase in ductile iron prices in just the past 4 years. And even the construction component, it's called the CCI. We track it for the city of Atlanta, how the costs to construct in the city, it has gone up continually. I mean, it's faster than inflation, the cost to construct here in Atlanta. Atlanta was actually faster than a lot of the US. So you have the whole US component. We look at it from a regional perspective, and the costs are just going up.
And I think that relates to the fact that we are a growing part of the country. I think we're now the 6th largest or 8th largest. As far as population in terms of the entire metro area. So
right.
We're pulling in a lot of resources. Sir, and then John. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had a question. How do our DeKalb water rates currently compare with neighboring counties, Gwinnett, Fulton, et cetera?
So I was looking at that this morning. So we, the last increase, we were actually below them. We're definitely below Atlanta is Athens, Clark County is also up there with the city of Atlanta. So we're not to those levels yet. I think even Columbus is higher than DeKalb County right now. So we do keep track of that and the affordability index. So the Environmental Protection Agency puts out where you try to be right around the 2% affordability. DeKalb is still at, I think, 1.25% of income, or they look at the median income. Other places that have aging infrastructure, which need investments, that number is starting to go up. So I know like in Baltimore, it's like 2.05, et cetera. So we're not there at the highest yet, even in the region here.
I would like to share, I had a very extraordinarily fine customer service experience with your team.
Okay, awesome.
I have to.
We are working on it, especially since you saw the extra people that were brought in.
All of the cast, all of the cast.
John?
Well, thank you, Maria. Thank you for coming and presenting, Commissioner. So thank you very much, everybody from DeKalb. We are in a shared services model.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the city of Dunwoody, from a city perspective, we don't do sanitation, we don't do water, sewer, fire, animal control, and probably a few other things. So thank you for the services which you provide, a good level of service at a fair price, and we keep coming to you for those services. And when there's an issue, we reach out and we usually fix the issues, and the service they provide is usually pretty good. Thank you. I've worked with you on the water aspect from the water quality reports that you put out every year. Probably mandated by federal,
Yes, it is.
but we look at it and we take a look to make sure that the water quality is good. We've had discussions regarding dam safety. That water Candler, the Candler Park has millions of gallons of water that are held up by a dam, and you're responsible for the dam safety. We've talked about that in the past, so thank you. Just recently, another thing that you're in charge of is fire hydrants.
Yes.
And the fire, service aspect. We had some conversations regarding a fire hydrant that was out of service. It was actually longer than I really would have wanted any fire hydrant out of service. And I reached out to Commissioner and the Water Department, Fire, and Mr. Williams even, and you were able to get us that fixed relatively soon, quickly. So that was great. I had a little bit of a concern regarding if a fire hydrant was out of service for a while. I want to make sure that all fire hydrants are safe within the city of Dunwoody. And I was kind of asking, maybe I asked for some information regarding an audit. You do audits and checks of all those fire hydrants. Hopefully, I sent you the email back in May 1st. I'm hoping that you can get me some information. I just want to confirm the safety of all those fire hydrants. I know you're probably working on it.
Understood, and I just got a nod from Zach that the team is looking into that right now.
Awesome.
Who do you report if the hydrants, and I see that they've been run over by a car and knocked them over?
So the Department of Watershed Management. So as we replace pipes in the community, we actually replace hydrants and valves. So it's not just the pipes, it's all the connections that go along with things as well. Things have changed, codes have changed, and we actually just go through and it starts reinstalling. As we go into the community, you're going to see new hydrants as well as new piping. It's like everything goes together.
A hydrant out of service could be very catastrophic.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times we have a good relationship with our fire department. So we tend to let them know as well. And we actually take a lot of the pressures in our system at our fire departments as well. So they're tied in to the system as well. And we keep them on dial on, our chief as well.
Do you want to add something, Zach?
It is, of course, concerning with the fire hydrants being out, but there is a cycle in which the fire department goes out and tests them all.
Hey, don't test it.
Yeah. And it's important to note that on the fire trucks, they carry enough hose, and I don't quote me on the exact numbers, but if one is out, they're going to be able to get to another fire hydrant.
Plus they have the pumper.
We also have a pumper and a tanker. And so the last week when the city of Atlanta had their issue, we sent a tanker truck that has water on it. So we have the ability to respond with the appropriate resources. But we will get the updated numbers on where we are on auditing the system.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Tom?
Great. So two related questions. One is, I forget how many years ago it was, but the big transmission lines from Holcomb Bridge to the reservoirs run right through the easement in my backyard. There's 296s, I think, in there. I'm not.
So that's from the raw water to the plant, yes.
I think it's 296s and like 60.
So they were put in 2010, I believe.
Sort of, yeah.
Because it was a smaller, so that was the modernization of the raw water intake.
So with a single source, what do you think about development? As you approve development projects, is the capacity enough?
So there are two things there. So one, we are very protective of our critical infrastructure. Actually, federal law mandates that, so we have certain restrictions as to, for example, information we could share about the property or even access to the critical infrastructure. So the raw water intake and the water treatment plant are considered critical infrastructure. So some things we just can't share with the population. But to answer your second questions, when we look at development, we do get concerned over, depending on where things are, that there's proper access to not just water, but also sewer services. So sometimes we do ask developers to do additional work as part of their development package.
Like impact fees or?
Well, not even impact fees, but ensuring that they have things on the site that will meet with, as we were mentioning, the fire code, making sure that there's fire flow, et cetera, if you want to bring in a project there.
Just to add, as we have talked, so where the county was back in 2020, as far as available sewage capacity, the last 4 years you guys have been working 20 as far as available sewage capacity. The last 4 years you guys have been working to raise that on the consent decree. Can you talk to that?
Sure. So we are able now, in 2021, Judge Grimberg ordered a modified consent decree. So we had an agreement with EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, feds, and Environmental Protection Division here in Georgia. And we came to an agreement as we fix the system and as we tighten up the sewer system and prevent stormwater from getting into the cracks, whether it's brought on by trees, roots of the trees growing into the wastewater or sewer pipes, or breaks because of aging, allowing when it rains, stormwater to get into the sewer system, reducing the capacity of the sewer system. So as we fix the system and prevent, let's say, 10 gallons of stormwater from entering the system, the feds and the state allows us to bring in 1 gallon of additional development. So in 2022, we were able to connect about 300 developers, single-family homes, multifamily, churches, schools that were waiting, that could not connect without that program. And we actually have another program. This is why Pepsi was able to come in to Tucker and bring, we actually won. They were looking at 5 or 6 other locations in the US, and we were able to win because Pepsi came in jointly with us to work on an improvement program. And the Board of Commissioners approved it. They partnered with us. They put up a lot of money. DeKalb County put up the other half, and we worked on repairing the system to generate enough credits where we fix the system enough to bring in Pepsi here, which is going to cause us to continue to grow. And a lot of the growth that you're seeing around here, it's because of the fixing that's happening on the sewer system. But now we're also working on the water system to make sure we have enough water supply to continue growing.
One thing to add that I had to ask Maria about is so when it comes to potable water, whatever size the pipe is, it's at full capacity. So top to bottom, it's full and it's got the pressurization on it. When it comes to the sewer system, you want to have it
like halfway full. It's when we start looking at repairing or upsizing it. And believe it or not, Jim used to work for us in the capacity of the consent decree program management team. And he went to Freeze Nichols, who they won the bid to help design one of the big trunk lines on the sewer side to take the sewage to the sewage treatment plant. So, you could call on him too. He lives right around the corner in the neighborhood. So he is really close, but his team, we have a lot of engineering teams that are working on designing. But from the water side, the reason it's under pressure is you want contaminants to stay out. So if there's a hole, you want the water to shoot out. You don't want any contaminants to be able to get in. So the water system is always under pressure. So you keep that clean water in. The sewer system, it goes by gravity and it's just going downhill until, you know, it flattens out. Then we use a pump station to pump it up again and keep on going. So I think we've taken over.
Jerry, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I live in Doherty North, and on Laurelwood Road, outside the fence, there's like a metal box where they used to open that thing up, and I don't know what they do, but I haven't seen anyone there. And we've had a lot of these big tree trucks, and you can see where they have driven right on the grass, and you have that metal box there. Do you know if that's being used and if it's important? And if so,
Can you just give me the address?
it has no address.
the back
Robert
entrance
can
to the
tell you
water
where it
plant.
is.
You're sure where? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we love to have eyes to help us. We've run into situations where recently this year, everybody wants fiber, and the fiber companies go digging, and they hit our water lines, and then all of a sudden y'all don't have water. And then Zach was out. Zach is out there standing there. I know one time they were the crews were like, well, we got to go home. And we're like, you hit our water line here. And our customers don't have water. So anytime we see trucks, we're trying to figure out how to deal with that, just manage the knowledge of people that are coming, and they may impact our infrastructure, even though you're supposed to call before you dig.
Right.
But I appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Maria, thank you very much for coming. Can I ask you one more question? Knowing all the infrastructure is aging, et cetera, are you able to sleep at night?
So I think after last week, I started telling everyone, you know, your fairy godmothers, your tooth fairies, everything, prayers and all of that. Everybody needs to be in this together. But you know, the way I tell our team to look at it, because it could be very discouraging when you're facing all of that. We didn't create that. I mean, a lot of us, the current team that's sitting there that's trying to fix their, you know, some of us weren't even born yet when decisions should have been made to improve the system. So we have an opportunity to kind of be the superheroes. You know, the building is on fire. We're going to be the firefighters that are going in to take it out. So it's a different mindset instead of being really like, oh my God, this is so hard, because, you know, 1909 pipes should still not be in the ground, but this is an opportunity to be a superhero. And if you have that mentality, you can start sleeping at night.
And I'll add that with people like Maria and Zach, I haven't introduced you guys yet to David Hayes, but he's the director of watershed management. Solid team, absolutely solid team of people that DeKalb County has working on behalf of us, the residents. So there are concerns, but we have a really good team to address them. And of course, CEO Thurman has raised the idea of how we're going to tackle some of the issues that were raised here, particularly the water treatment plant, the electrical building itself. I will be coming back to y'all as long as you guys don't mind having us here and give you additional updates as we go through this process. I think there's going to be conversations about sewer system.
Yeah.
And we're going to have another conversation on how you pay for everything. And so if y'all will stick with us, we will get you the answers and sort of explain where the thinking is and touch base and get your blessing, hopefully.
Well, while we've got Maria here, we have Zach here, and I talked to Zach about this before the meeting. A somewhat contentious issue that we have going on in Dunwoody right now is the city's plan to put 12-foot wide paths or trails throughout the city for connectivity. Whether you're for them or against it, Tom's neighborhood is Four Oaks, and it's along Peeler Road. And I know a lot of the residents on Four Oaks have been asking me why the city would want to put a trail on their side of the street when they could put it on the side of the street next to the water plant.
Which already exists.
Well, there's a small sidewalk that exists there, but Zach, you spoke a little about it. I don't know if you want to, Maria, but appreciate it.
I think we tend to be, Commissioner.
probably would be good for us to not necessarily dive into
Well,
Dunwoody issues.
Zach had told me, there's security concerns, et cetera, and I just wanted to make sure that people understand that that is
To that,
part
to
of the
that
issue.
point, there have been conversations with the idea of trying to put in a park near the water treatment plant. And again, to say this again, that is the sole source of water for 780,000 people. And as a Doraville councilman, when that water line broke at Buford Highway, it almost washed out the road, the actual state highway, almost washed out several of the buildings that were there. And again, anyone south had no water. And to have a hospital with no water, no surgeries, have a restaurant with no water, there's no food preparation. It is something that I think we do need to consider very closely. So I don't want to necessarily wade in on the politics, but those are some of the realities that are, at the end of the day, people need to have water. And so with that, that is my official dodge. I hope that's a good dodge. I am a politician.
One question,
Yeah.
and this is just a statement, it's more of a question. Sky Canada Water Plant, the entrance is in Dunwoody, it still says Doraville, Georgia. Any way to get that site? Just asking.
I think it's tagged to the zip code. You'd have to change your zip code.
I live in 30360, my address is in Dunwoody.
But
Is that what he said he lives?
But your post office is Doraville.
Uh,
And actually, once you put it in the system, it actually says Atlanta.
Right.
I mean, it's just, it's
I
all.
drive by there every day.
I know how to do that. Listen, everyone, thank you very much. Either through Bob or the rest of the board, you all know how to get in touch with me if you don't already have my information. This is the beginning of a conversation. I really we need to talk about this. So thank you for your time. Good night.
Thank you, Robert. I will say, as far as the paths are concerned, the city does continue to move forward with the planning and funding for the 12-foot wide path/trails. The path, very much welcome in the PCID, but we are hearing a lot of pushback from residents. And we were I know John was at the meeting 2 weeks ago we had at Four Oaks and Windward Hollow Park, and it was a little bit contentious. And not all the residents are against the path, even those whose property backs up to Peeler and would be directly affected by the path. And there's a lot of trees that would have to be clear-cut trees that do suck up a lot of water. And, that area does have some stormwater issues. So it is a concern to them. And just to let you know, a lot of the residents at that meeting weren't saying that they're not all against the paths, but they just thought that the city is just not listening to any of their ideas. The city comes in with a plan and says, this is the way we're going to do it. We'll listen to you, but this is our plan. And so I just want you to be aware of that. I'm sure we haven't heard the end of paths. One other thing I want to mention, Planning Commission is meeting this week. And among the items on the agenda is something that had been brought to my attention. And I don't know if we brought it up at this meeting. I think we did. But the Planning Commission, one of the agenda items is a minimum requirement, minimum distance from a rehab facility to a park. Now, at the corner of Tilly Mill and North Peachtree, there is a
It was assisted.
55 and older assisted living community, and a company that is known to put in some rehab facilities, drug rehab facilities, has purchased that facility, and that was the thought. But if this requirement passes the Planning Commission, then council, that would not happen at that location. So if you had heard about that, that's where we stand. Planning Commission is Tuesday, John?
I believe so.
Tuesday. Okay, that's it. Anything else from the board? That's all we got. So thank you for coming. Thanks to Robert, Zach, Maria, your whole team. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.